Here. Wanted to point out that if you were to look at our numbers, as I've said in prior meetings, we're actually ahead of our projected growth curve. We are probably about 3 to 5% above the rather aspirational targets we set for ourselves. And I have a feeling that by the time we end the semester and start looking at the positive attendance in non-credit classes in general, we'll probably be up close to 10% above those numbers. So congratulations on basically helping support students as they come literally streaming back to us. Also, we noticed that the student participation has changed on campus. If you remember my prior town hall, I basically showed you the breakdown of online versus on-ground and hybrid classes. We see them coming back. We see all of our students basically participating more face-to-face, but it's also interesting that there's a generational change. Our older adults of 25 and older are basically preferring online courses. So we still see a strength and growth in that area as well. I think the big thing, if we've been around on campus, when we've had our activities, whether it's Dutch Brothers on campus or whatever else, we certainly see a lot of participation face-to-face for those engagement activities as well. And I don't know if you've been to a football game lately, but if you look at the stands, we've gotten a lot of parents and a lot of friends, shall we say, attending football games and other types of athletic activities. And I think all that is just evidence that the pandemic is over and people are coming back to Reedley College in many different ways. So you're all part of that, and I appreciate it. I know that as we have more people back on campus, we have other related issues. I'd like to recognize Nurse Kelly for the work she was doing as recently as this morning. I mean, we certainly see a lot of, support from our various units on campus to help those students that have special needs, either in an ongoing fashion or during a crisis type of event. And also wanted to recognize again our basic needs support for our students. We see more and more utilization of our food pantry, our Clyde's Closet, and related services. So thanks to those of you that help work in that area. I'm glad to see I'm being recorded. So I just simply wanted to talk a little bit about our community support as well. How many of you are aware of the fact that come January, we're going to be launching our own flight school? Everybody knows our aviation maintenance program dates back to World War II. Yeah, you better. But when it comes to the flight sciences department, which is probably only 5 to 6 years old, we've been partnering with a flight school at the Fresno Yosemite Airport up to this point. We're going to maintain that partnership. But now what we're doing is we have an agreement with the city of Reedley to use the local municipal airport. So we're actually investing some of the money that was awarded to us through our assemblyman, Joaquin Arambula, who brought us $1 million through a trailer bill a couple of years ago. And that money's been invested in 5 brand new airplanes and a number of other resources that we need to really, pardon the phrase, launch our own flight school. But that's exactly what we're doing. So the community support in that area and other areas has been incredible this past year. I'd also like to recognize Rodney Horton with the city, who has repeatedly brought grants to us that has helped enhance the amount of food and clothing we can offer our students. So he's been just a great supporter of Reedley College as well. And I'd just like to also revisit what makes Reedley special. You know, the Reedley College team, which really comprises everybody in this room and more, you're not only resilient, you know, I have this collection of words here. You're innovative, you're creative, you're consistent and supportive, and you're committed to the work. And the work is really putting students at the center of everything that we do. If you think about the work that Amanda Tainter is currently doing in OER, if you think about the work that's been done in our early alert system, Samara basically helping grow Reedley College's starfish program to one of the largest, if not the largest in the state. We're doing some amazing things. You are all doing amazing things in your own respect. And I just wanted to recognize that commitment to our students. I think I lost my connection here for my slides. Cal, help. Speaking of resilient and committed. Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Try the space bar.
Nope. No guys.
No, nothing's working.
Nothing's working.
Everything's broken.
I'm going to back away from the keyboard and let the experts help. So, in the words of a famous film star, man's got to know his limitations. All right. So, as I mentioned, under challenges, our student basic needs continues to grow every year. How many of you have ever been here when they do the food deliveries for the food pantry and you've seen the line out the door? It seems to be growing every month. Space utilization. We just, a number of us just got out of a meeting with our consultants to take a look at a first blush diagram of what our campus might look like in 10 years or more, depending upon funding. But some amazing ideas have come out. I know that everybody on that team were offering a number of additional modifications to what was presented this morning. But our space utilization is important to us because it has to do with how we use our existing facilities and how we need to plan for future facilities to better serve our students. Also, the demand for new functions and services here on the campus and actually elsewhere. If you think about the fact that we were partnering with 4 different adult ed programs here in the Valley. Cutler-Arrosi, Dinuba, Selma, Sanger, to help deliver our non-credit courses. There's a lot of new opportunity out there. The partnerships we've had for many years with Sequoia Lake and with Edison at Shaver Lake, for example, to help provide laboratory space for our wildland fire and forestry programs. So, we have a lot of different demands on us as a very unique college, and it's interesting to be in the core of the planning for a lot of these types of functions and programs and how we keep them relevant to the areas they serve. You see on here also the issue of efficiency. I know that's sometimes a dirty word, but it really isn't, because efficiency for us it really harkens back to that issue of space utilization. If we're going to qualify for state funding, like I've said before, one of the things we've got to do this year is start utilizing software like Ad Astra to help us get a handle on how we're using our buildings, how we're using our classroom space, so that the efficiency, the efficient use of those spaces goes up, so we can prove to the state that we actually need more and better, or better and more, depending upon the order you like to put it in. And that, as I said in that last bullet, leads to the funding for the modernization of a 67-year-old campus at this point. So we've got a lot of needs, and we just are in the process of trying to prove that to various state officials. Today, I wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about governance, because it's something, if you think back about 18 months or so, we put a lot of time into looking at our committee structure and really how we serve as a campus, not only to our students, but to all of you in terms of providing an effective structure for what is called participatory governance. Anybody know what participatory governance really means? I mean, you've got some definitions here on the slide, but what does it mean to you personally? Any thoughts? Natalie, you're scowling at me. Anybody? What does participatory governance mean to you? Getting input? Anyone else? Well, what makes education somewhat unique is, we try to make sure that everyone does have a voice. Now, various campuses approach that in different ways. But as you know, I hope you know, I value all of your input as we basically go through various projects, various processes, because I need to know what you're thinking and know what you have in the way of experience that contributes to the effectiveness of new ideas and new processes. And Sandra, can you name one thing that's resulted from that kind of input over the past couple of years? It might have affected you directly. And the structure. So for example, I use this as an example of the last town hall meeting. Remember, we've taken now to having planning retreats. Some of you like them, some of you don't. I know that. And yet I will basically invite 60 of you to come along to a retreat at least once a year, where we gather that kind of feedback and that kind of input we were just talking about. And the last time we did that last year, that resulted in a recommendation to restructure the college in several different ways. And one of the things that we've done most recently is look at the 6 some odd grants that we have from Title III federal TRIO grants that have funded our Upward Bound and educational talent search type programs. And we've decided to expand and really make more efficient that structure to include dual enrollment. So a young person and their family may start off beginning to understand what a college going culture looks like and what their opportunities are, all the way up to the point where they get in middle school and high school and can start taking classes with us that lead to our programs. They can get a jump start on college, either in math and English, engineering, education, business. And the point is, those students that start early have what benefit? Why do we do that? Well, number one, it saves the family money. If the family doesn't have a lot of resource to help a student go to college, if we can help save them 50% of the cost of going to a university, why wouldn't we want to do that? It helps us help our communities achieve more education. And what do we know about education in general? Education typically correlates strongly with earning power. If a student can find a path that leads to a career, it can change the entire family in terms of their ability to earn a living and have a lifestyle that's something they've always wanted. So there's reasons why we do this work. So getting back then to governance, that change that we just talked about, hopefully was done in such a way that we again put students at the center of that question, and we reorganized and restructured to make things more efficient and effective to support the roughly 4,000 students that we currently have in our dual enrollment program. That's no small thing. So when you think about organizations that want to improve their structures and want to improve their processes and projects, we come back to governance. Because when we make a decision like that, that is so fundamental to the organization itself, to the institution, don't we want to get a lot of input on that? Or do you just want one person making the call? I don't mind making the call, but I think the point is I rely upon all of your experiences and feedback to improve the decision process. So it gets back to policies and processes. It's about helping the institution move towards achieving its goals. All those things have to do with governance. And when it's done well, governance creates, as you can see from the slide, an honest, open environment that promotes effective planning and agility in the execution, while encouraging a commitment to getting the funding we need to do the work that we're committed to. Does that kind of help define it for you? Governance, it's a good thing. There are certain components to governance. This is actually taken from an article that I found recently. If you think about just the basics of risk management, when you basically put the appropriate processes and systems of oversight in place, you're basically going to make sure that our college council and governance committees really increase the ability for us to deliver on our promises, while not really creating a risk for us in that process. We talked about institutional effectiveness just a moment ago. You can see how organizational performance relates to input through our committee structure. And the committee effectiveness is really an issue of careful forward planning of activities. The one thing I'd like to share with you, if you're part of a committee, does your committee have a plan for the academic year? Do you know what you're going to be doing month to month? Or do you just get together and you happen to look at the agenda when you show up? In my mind, each one of our committees should have a purpose. And at the end of the year, they should have a list of things that they've accomplished, because what are they contributing to? They're contributing to the overall effectiveness of the college and achieving our goals and addressing our mission. So that's why I like to think about governance in this light. But to be able to do it well, you also have to understand the roles and responsibilities that you serve on that college council assignment or the committee that you're on. And I'm not going to read the rest of the slides to you, but the point is, we have an interest in the structure and composition of our college council and our various committees. We want to make sure that there is purpose and strategy to the work that's being done. We want to make sure there is some accountability for the work that's being requested and the stuff that's being delivered at the end of the year. And there's something you might not think about, and that is organizational maturity. There are certain committees like our new staffing committee. That's one of the most complex processes we have on any college campus. How do you decide on the priorities for staffing? Because there's never enough money to hire everybody you want. So how do you prioritize who we request each year? So in terms of organizational maturity, college committees like staffing or program review probably need to have a lot of training for people coming on so they understand how to function in that complex environment. And let's not forget the issue of culture and ethics. We want to make sure that the recommendations that come out of our committees are ethical and responsible, feeding our decision-making process based upon what? Good data and information. And then finally, let's not forget engagement. We want to make sure that our college committees engage, in many cases, with our stakeholders and our employees, as well as our students. What do I mean by stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders when you talk about Reedley College? Who do we serve? We serve students. We also serve the community. And if you think about breaking down the community, we have industries that depend upon us for employees. We have city government, we have nonprofits, we have all sorts of people that have an interest in what we do. So give me an example of how we might engage our stakeholders in a positive way. And we do it every month. In a committee structure, by the way, I'm giving you a hint. Remember, I'm an educator, so I love giving quiz questions. So how do we engage stakeholders every month? What do we do? What part of our campus does this as part of their everyday practice? How about CTE? Advisory committees. But if you think about it, I can point to when the English department has their speaker series and you bring people to the forum hall. Isn't that a way of engaging stakeholders? It's a different kind of stakeholder, but you're certainly engaging them. We put on concerts. Any kind of student performance, any kind of engagement with our community, it's a way of making sure that we're effective in the work that we're doing, because we're getting what? Feedback. So it closes the loop. So enough on governance. I just wanted to share with you again that in terms of what we do here at Reedley, the committee structure is important because it's our way of connecting with each other and connecting to our communities as well. And one of the ways that we really want to connect this month is on Giving Tuesday. As you see here on this slide, we've already raised nearly $20,000 thanks to your good work and others. So thank you. And what's that going to again? This is, I believe, the third year in a row that we've been funding our basic needs program. So our target is to raise 25. And I think Serena would attest to the fact that we've sent out a lot of letters to a lot of different industry partners and a lot of community partners overall to see if we can do what we did last year, which is bring in probably $5,000 to $7,000 just from those partners. So I don't think we're done yet. Usually those sorts of contributions come by mail, and we kind of see them a little later in the game, so to speak. But I'll simply offer you again, the need is greater this year than ever before. As I commented earlier, the lines are longer, the students need help. I'm going to be giving away a bike on this stage tomorrow during our luncheon to one needy student. Long story, but to make it 25 words or less, I was at Fiesta last month. I put raffle tickets in a bucket, gave him $20 contribution, and I won a bicycle. I already have a bike. I don't need a bike, but I know our students do. So we actually then created a competition for students to provide essays. We narrowed it down to 3 people, and I had to pick one, which, by the way, was very difficult. And I'm going to be hopefully awarding that bike to that student tomorrow. Well, we're at least going to announce who the student is tomorrow. But the point is, the more that we can do that, the more we can help our students. That's very small scale. What would I like us to be able to do as a college next year? By next year? What's the greatest challenge our students have besides the basic needs we've already talked about? Transportation. How about enhancing our rural transit authority, routes and timing? How about providing other options for students for transportation besides bicycles? What can we do to really help them where they need the help the most? And that's where I get back to governance. What ideas do you have? What ideas do our students have for me to basically make things better for those that have that particular need? So don't forget, we're not done with Giving Tuesday. If you have friends that haven't yet contributed, poke them and say, hey, there's still the online portal. It's still open. I know it's tough. It's in the middle of the holidays, but you know what? I think of it this way. Our students are the greatest gift we have. So why don't we give a gift to them as well? And on that note, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Vega in Student Services. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, everybody. My name is Jesus Vega. I'm the Vice President of Student Services, and I have the honor and the privilege of showcasing what Student Services has done in this last semester. So, Student Services, as Dr. Buckley mentioned earlier, with the addition of the third dean, we have reframed our division. We have a dean of early college programs now. So what that meant is that we were able to reshift our programs and who they align to under each dean. So the dean of early college programs, as Dr. Buckley mentioned, all our upward bounds, our trios, our ETS is dual enrollment. The other deans aligned with their specific departments as well. So there were not major shifts in those areas, but the deans are aware of it. Student Services Division is aware of it. And now we're bringing it to the entire campus community, so they're aware. We have an addition of team members. So just recently, Dr. Gurpreet Bogal was named the permanent Title V director for 2019. And as of last week, Dr. Fuentes, Richard Aguilar was named the director of dual enrollment. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago already? 2 weeks ago. So he's been with us for 2 weeks. So if you haven't met him or he hasn't swung by your office, please make sure you say hello. So in the works, a lot of you have been wondering where our psych services coordinator position has been and where we is in the process that is HR with our district. The position closed 2 days ago. We have 5 applications that are being screened currently, so that's a good thing. We're in the process of working and hiring a dual enrollment instructor to offer courses on our community partners, specifically for counseling, and then there's one also for math that'll be coming down the road. The director of outreach position is going to be coming down the road, and then the full-time permanent position of the early college dean will also be coming out shortly. We reopened the college and career, the Career and Transfer Center about a month ago. So if you haven't been out to the new space, please go. It's an amazing location. Clyde's Closet, the business portion is out there. Great workshops, great speakers. So please join. They're in FNR 1. Extreme registration every Wednesday. So for those of you that know students that are interested in coming back, or they haven't registered from last semester to this semester, extreme registration is going on every Wednesday right out here in our student center. Both in person and online versions. So please join us and bring them on, and more information on the intranet. So for those of you that have not been onto the intranet, this is a great time to go and check that out. The financial aid application, the CADA application, DREAM Act, that opens up December 31st. It's supposed to be a streamlined version of what it used to be before, easier for our students to go through it and complete it. So we're hoping that that'll happen. Our financial aid team is currently going through the process of kind of working out the kinks and presentations. So more information to come to you all on that. And then our food pantry, congratulations to our food pantry. They just recently received 2 grants, one for $1,000 to create a policy on healthy eating, and then another one for $3,000, close to $3,400 for the food pantry especially, so specifically. So they'll be able to redesign the food pantry and see what it is that they may need in order to provide services for our students. Congratulations are in order for the Division of Student Services. Next week, the leadership class of 2022 will be graduating at the district. Veronica Berenger from the Career and Transfer Center, Veronica Leal from the Food Pantry, and then Maria Macias from Counseling will be graduating next week. So if you're able to participate and go to the district office for that graduation ceremony, please do and join them. And then the Muro de Honor honoree on December 6th. Doctora Sandra Fuentes is being recognized as one of the 3 individuals that will be going on to the Muro de Honor. It's, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it is based on support and comments from our community across the county to select these individuals. And from my understanding, very selective process, very rigorous. So Doctora Fuentes, congratulations. Reedley College has started embracing our HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution identity, and the Office of Hispanic Serving Institution Initiatives has started a campaign every September, October-ish, where they're going out into our different spaces and places and showcasing to our students that we're here to serve them. And that's the ultimate goal. We're here to serve them regardless of what background, what ethnicity it is. The servingness is the key to this. And as you can see, they had events, they were in different spaces. Thank you, faculty, thank you, staff, thank you, administrators, for participating in these events and getting the word out of who we are and what we're about, and that's serving students. And then last but not least, from the student services area, we have Ho Ho Home for the Holidays coming up next week. So this is the list of events that will be taking place, and it's going to be, again, an effort from the Office of Hispanic Serving Institutions. So there's going to be a variety of days. There's a day for each thing. So your ugly sweater, pretty sweater, however you see Christmas, that's going to be on a certain day. Winter Wonderland is going to be another day. So I will go ahead, and if it's not already on the intranet, I will go ahead and have it, but it's up. So it's on the intranet. So please make sure. It's a great way to build camaraderie amongst our teams and our students. So please join us on those events. And that's it for my end. I'm going to hand it over to Dale Van Dam, Vice President of Instruction.
Okay, well, I'm going to be a little briefer, I think, than my predecessor. Just a couple things I wanted to mention right now. We're at the time when students are struggling to finish up. Everyone's struggling to bring the semester to a close. There's topics you got to cover. There's tests you got to give and grade, papers you got to read. But we don't want to lose sight of, we want our students to persist into the next semester. We're well into open enrollment. So any students you have in class should now be eligible to re-enroll for spring. And I know many of you have been encouraging them right along to keep track of their registration date, take advantage of that. But I hope you'll take one last opportunity over the next couple of days, or perhaps in the day of the final, to remind them that it's time, you should be thinking about spring. Please go ahead and enroll. There's an email coming out, if it's not already out today, coming out about where they can find open classes, where they can make an appointment with a counselor. So it's a really crucial time to make sure that our students persist into the spring semester. And along those lines, I know that the student services and also our success teams are looking through our list of students that have re-enrolled and looking for those who are with us this semester and have not yet taken the opportunity to re-enroll. And they'll be reaching out to them via phone, text, however they can reach them to remind them to please go ahead and enroll for spring. So that's one topic, an important topic, and that's everybody's job, right? We all have a hand in that. So if you have a chance to speak with a student, see what they're doing for spring. The second thing I wanted to relate, I guess, is a measure of how creative and innovative Reedley College is, and especially the faculty. I think you've all heard by now about the Ag Tech grant. It's a grant that awarded funding to 8 different community colleges in the Valley. And part of it, a lot of it is directed at re-educating or upskilling folks that are already in the ag industry. There's some folks working in the field, some folks working in packing plants. But the core of the grant, from an instructional perspective, is a core curriculum of classes. And they're a little bit different than what we typically develop for curriculum. They don't fall into any one particular area, although we're giving them the prefix of Ag Tech, but they're very general courses. And at Reedley, we went through a rigorous process. We tried to keep as many people involved in developing the curriculum as possible. We talked to Whitney, our curriculum chair, the faculty on an ongoing basis, and described the purpose of the classes, why we were bringing them forward, how students were going to move beyond those classes into specialization or fields of specialization. And when we took it to the curriculum committee, there were certainly good questions and concerns about exactly what was going on. But the curriculum committee, and I think it's a reflection of the faculty as a whole, willing to take a chance, willing to say, okay, we see the value in this. Even though it's a little different than what we typically do, we see the value and we'll approve it. We want to try it. We think it'll be good for our community, our stakeholders. I have to tell you that none of the other 8 colleges have been able to get that curriculum through their curriculum committees. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice. They're struggling with, gosh, we don't have ag, but really that's not the point of the grant necessarily. It's to upskill folks who are in the ag industry, but it could be in mechatronics or a lot of other fields. They're struggling with the idea of, well, is it credit or non-credit, or they're struggling with the idea, well, this didn't necessarily originate with faculty, although faculty have been very involved with development and curriculum. So just a lot of ways to look for, I don't know, an out or not to join in the process. We don't encounter that much at Reed. We encounter good questions, challenging questions, but in general, I think the faculty are great. The organization is great about let's try new things. Let's be the first to innovate. Let's be creative. And I really appreciate that about our college and working here. So that's all I've got. Melanie Highfield.
So I'm probably going to be even more brief than Dale, but I just want to kind of get everybody an update on where we're at with some of our facilities. So I'm sure everybody, as you drive into work in the morning and you drive down Reed Avenue, you see our beautiful Center for Fine and Performing Arts. So we're still slated to potentially be done with construction late March, early April. as you can see, they're getting ready to do the outside roads but there's doing a lot of work on the inside. And one of the potential delays might be some of the AV equipment, but we're hoping to get all of that ironed out. But that's where we're at right now with that. And so I wanted to update you on a few other projects that we haven't updated in a while. So our softball upgrades that we've been working on for our softball field, we've been working on this project for 2 years now. It finally was approved by DSA. And so we're meeting next week to put the timeline together, review the actual drawings that came out of DSA, make sure there's no more changes that need to be made, and then work on a timeline to start that project. Our track improvements, that will be submitted to DSA on December 16th. So the potholes in the track, we can actually get fixed. SOCH 32, the HVAC system, has been approved by DSA for the replacement unit. We finally got that pushed through. We're working with the contractor right now to try to schedule that. We're hoping they can get that done over winter break, and that room will be opened back up for use in spring. What other projects do we have going? Auto lifts, we had our architects come out, worked with our faculty. Another project we've been working on for almost 2 years now. We actually have the layout where the new auto lifts are going to go, and that's getting ready to go out to bid. So hopefully that will be done for the spring semester. Oh, so the doors of the student center tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So the parts came in, we contacted the vendor today to just get an update. The parts came in yesterday. So there will be a contractor on site tomorrow at 7 a.m. to work on those doors. So the hot walker in the pavilion. So that one, the PO has been issued to the contractor for the electrical. They were waiting for the transformer to come in. It was on order. And so Jesse's following up right now. Jesse Pineda, who is our construction services coordinator at the district, is working to get a timeline with the contractor. And then the other project that we have going out there is the repair of the standpipes. And so we're working with construction services over that too. I just want to give a huge shout out to a lot of my departments. We've had a really busy fall semester. We've had a lot of events on campus. Building services has been amazing, making sure everything's been set up and put back right as we get going. My cafeteria staff has been amazing, making sure that we have food for everybody at all of these lovely events. And as you can see, they're still busy today with students. And also our building business services office, who makes sure that our students get their financial aid, and any other payments that are due to them, and payroll gets processed. So I just want to shout out to all my departments. They work so hard to make sure that everything functions behind the scenes, so you all amazing instructors can do your job. So Dr. Buckley.
So before we open this up for questions, I just was thinking through many of the comments that were made today, and I realized I didn't really close the loop on something, because my topic focused on governance and participation in that governance. I guess the part of governance that maybe we didn't really discuss was the communication piece, because your participation is less meaningful unless we actually effectively communicate the work that's been done, both to other committees, up to the president's office, but also out to the community as well. And someone touched on the fact that we have a new intranet product. I'm going to ask the same question I asked last month. How many of you have used the intranet? Very good. I'm enjoying that. The point is, we created the intranet as a way to do what? Communicate, but also reduce the use of email. Very good. You're passing the test. I love it. So the point is, what can we do moving forward to use the intranet even more? We've talked about, for instance, maybe housing certain folders there where we can put the final agendas and final minutes for meetings, so that when it comes time for our accreditation review. All that evidence is located in one space, right? So that's one that we've thought about. We know we've put a lot of time, I know Serena certainly has with many of you in the audience, on creating this integrated calendar that basically shows you everything that's happening week by week on the campus. How many of you use the calendar? A few, okay, good. The point is, we want it to be a good reference point for everybody. We'd like you to check that Monday morning or whenever you need to and basically see what's coming. I know I do. So it's a great resource. It can be even more useful if you do what? Use it, yes. And if you give us feedback on how to improve the configuration of it. You know, it's been only one semester that we put it in use, but we hope that as time goes by, you'll use more and more of it. So communication. It's the key to reducing conflict. We communicate effectively amongst ourselves. It helps. So thank you for using the intranet. So Q&A time. Who has a question for me today? Or any of the people who have spoken or others that are here today? Any questions at all? I'm betting somebody's going to ask, I hear that you're signing an agreement with the USDA lab over in Parlier. Yes, we are. Thank you for that question. And that document is now with the DO. We've never signed what's called a cooperative agreement before. This is not an MOU. It's not a grant agreement. It's a federal document that's incredibly complicated. I'll just leave it at that. So we've sent it to legal counsel. We've sent it to the acting or interim vice chancellor of educational services. We're trying to get a read on, you know, does this go to the board with my signature and it's good? You know, it's kind of meaningful because we're actually dedicating 20 acres to the USDA for the next for the next 5 years. So we can actually do a study on a very special insect vector that's basically decimating citrus crops across the United States. So it's a really important project that's going to have a big impact on us because we're going to get what? Paid internships for students, STEM students, as well as ag students. So this is where the partnership comes in. Next question. So don't forget that tomorrow, 12 noon, we have our holiday luncheon. 11:30, excuse me. You want to take the mic? 11:30 to 1, right? Yeah, very good. And you'll see many of us there serving and helping out and welcoming you and thanking you for the work that you've done this semester and this year. Other questions or other topics? Anything from our students? I see so many of you that have contributed so many things throughout the year. I'm not going to call you out individually, but it's usual when I look out here, I see the usual subjects, the folks that are basically doing all the work out there. So thank you to all of you for all the stuff that you do every week, every day. It helps our students. I really appreciate it. Do I have any athletic updates? Well, we do have a playoff game coming up in football on December 3rd at Butte College. December 2nd, excuse me. Yeah. At noon at Butte. Yeah, I was just working out off, you know, recollection. So sorry I got the date wrong. But yeah, this coming weekend at Butte College, 12 noon. Women's soccer. Women's soccer basically placed, no, excuse me, I'm thinking second round of playoffs. Yeah, there you go. That's right. And let's see, women's golf placed third in the state. We got knocked out, unfortunately, in the last round by College of the Canyons. One shot, right. Talk about close. A game of inches, literally. But yeah, I would simply say our student athletes are doing really well again this year. Anything else? Yes. Clyde. Thank you. You may have noticed that Clyde has been, tarped? Why did we tarp Clyde? We're trying to keep Clyde dry over the winter because we are working through a joint task force of community members and volunteers from the campus that are looking at how to basically address Clyde's age. He's having some problems, skin problems, shall we say. So he's eventually going to have some procedures done. But we want to make sure he stays dry until those medical procedures are applied. So he's going to be tarped until such time as the consultant's available to come on site and actually work on him and bring him back to his youthful appearance. Because we all know how many students like to take pictures with Clyde, right? So we're trying to make sure that by commencement, he's looking his best. So stay tuned on that one. And by the way, check local media like our local newspaper to also get updates on our 100th year anniversary work. You're going to see some information about most likely committee work that starts after the first of the year. Just as a refresher on that topic, we're going to be having our community and our campus work on nominating and selecting the top 100 graduates or participants as students here at Reedley College over the past 100 years. We're going to be looking at forming an alumni association. So think about that. And we're going to have a lot of other opportunities for you to all participate as we get ready for that 100th year anniversary in what year? 2026, just around the corner. But we're going to try to create some pretty amazing celebrations. We want to write a book about Reedley College. We may want to make a film about Reedley College. We may want to highlight some of your programs and some of your graduates. So that's where you get to contribute. Join the committee, join a task force.
We just have to get an amazing accolades today.
That's correct. Remind me, because I can't get the name clear in my head. It was Jamel, darn, sorry. My memory is falling short. I even sent an email on this. Price, was that the last name? And remind me of the award, the title of it. Yeah, come on up, Melanie. You can read it. Let's cut out the middleman.
So it was Jamel Pink from Reedley College, and he was awarded the Cal Hope Courage Award for November. And so this is just a little piece that says, throughout this journey, this is a comment from him. He said, throughout this journey, I've become very aware of how important your mental health is, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. That's why I advocate for seeking professional help. I aspire to be a role model for those dealing with mental health issues. My story is proof that resilience can triumph over despair. And so there's been postings on Facebook and on the calhopecourageaward.org if you want more information.
And I think that just puts an exclamation point on how important it is to get our psych services coordinator hired. I don't know how many of you realize this. We've talked about it in the past, but we've gone, I believe, out 4 times, if I'm not mistaken. So to have 5 people in the pool this time, it's incredible, because you realize, I think, from that story, just how many of our students need help in that area and need support. So happy to see we're making progress there. Anything else we should talk about while we're here? Richard, how's criminology doing this semester? I think a lot of you out there are going to be very interested and I think hopefully very happy with a lot of the suggestions that are being made about what our facilities might look like in the future, as far as how we reorganize the campus and create new classroom opportunities for you. So the problem with that is facilities are never a short-term project, as Melanie was pointing out. 2 years just to figure out how to revise the lifts in our automotive program, 2 years for the softball stadium to get that updated. So it's not a short time frame when we talk facilities. It's usually a long-term commitment, but we're even talking about our residence halls and how to enhance that space. A lot of good topics, a lot of good things that are basically being talked about. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully by the end of the spring semester, we will have a final facilities plan to share with you. And you'll probably be seeing drafts of that throughout the early portion of the spring semester. So you'll be able to give input as well. There'll be at least one town hall where we're going to devote that to that facilities review and see what you think. Okay, something to look forward to. Anything else? All right. Well, I appreciate your being here today. I'd like to see you all at our luncheon tomorrow. And if I don't see you, I wish you the happiest of holidays, and I hope you get some rest, come back refreshed and ready to hit that spring semester. Have a good one.